This conference will now be recorded.
Hey, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Thank you. First order of business is we have no guests. So no introduce.
Can you guys hear Tom?
Can you?
I can, but if you could speak louder, it would be helpful. And it was just really fuzzy too.
Who's on? Who's on?
That's Larry.
Oh, Larry.
Larry and Leah.
Oh,
I'm here.
all right. First order of business is the approval, review and approval of the
So you're
minutes
gonna have to speak up.
of the November meeting. Since we did not have the meeting in December, we're voting on the November meetings. Minutes. Everyone had a chance to review them. They've been out for 2 months almost. Any questions or omissions to the minutes?
Make a motion to accept.
Jay makes the motion, second. Second. And Joe. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion is carried. Next order is the no consent agenda. No open forum. The financial report, we have two, one for November and one for December, like John sent out to us.
Anybody need copies?
Yeah.
Can you ask them to close the door?
Someone close the door.
Sorry.
Mike Croft to close the door. Or 604.
Duly noted.
We second it.
We get that approved.
Anybody else need copies? Aye. You're all set. All right, so just, Mr. Chairman, you want me to go?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I don't have a whole lot to add other than you see, now I'm just going to look at December revenue. You know, we're already almost at $1 million revenue point for year to date. So as you can see, we're ahead of last year, and last year was you know, record level of revenues that we brought in, a little over 1.4 million. So we're tracking well. Visitor dockage, you know, we have a bump there, but that's just timing of when we make, this time of year, when we make reservations. There is a big demand for visitor dockage again this year, especially those people who would want to stay a whole summer if they can, and you know, we call that transient at will. It just depends on, you know, we have some slip holders who aren't going to use their docks for the summer, and we have availability, and we try to fill it. But our visitor dockage over the last several years has been very good, and I expect it to remain the same. We are going to see a bump this year because of the rate increase. Everybody knows that. It's not reflected in the December number, but it will come forward. So, you know, that's going to be a bump. Everybody knows we did about an 8% increase in rate fees pretty much across the board, with the exception of visitor dockage, and that was a little higher. I thought our visitor rate, based upon the survey we did, was pretty low comparatively, so we bumped that up a little bit. But anyways, if there's any questions about any of the numbers, I'd be happy to try to answer.
The question I have is on the includes ticket lease as an asterisk on it. What is that?
And where is that?
Under the off-road permit?
Are we in December or November?
Well, both of them have the same thing. Includes ticket lease, $1,000, off-road permits.
Offload permits. So that includes the money that we get from the passenger boats who pay us a facility fee to have those sheds and parking to run their business. And so that's the ticket.
Is that what the,
That's what the ticket lease, yeah, that, it just is, it's reflective of the ticket. It's really a facility fee is what we call it. Okay.
$97,000 for the prior year. Any other questions?
And just a reminder, that number, while I think we're still doing really good from a revenue standpoint, that number includes the money that we got when we sold sand, and that was reported a couple of, okay, but that's going to offset some funds that we don't have with regard to the snack shack. You know, because we had a very short season. We didn't get the money that we typically get for the lease, and then on top of that, we got additional funds because they exceeded a certain revenue point. So that money, so it's going to kind of offset things. So I still think we're tracking real well.
Are they still involved for the current season?
So we don't know yet. The RFP is supposed to be going out sometime this month. You know, Rudy's, who had the short season, that was just that season lease. So they're going to have to compete again for a longer term lease once that RFP is sent out. So we'll see.
How long did that last be?
How long will the lease be?
This past year. Was it only a couple of weeks?
Yeah, I mean, they had about a month. I think they had a, you know,
They had a few weeks.
they had about a month. I mean, they got in, they did a real nice job for such a short season, you know, came in.
But they had enough time to figure out if it's worthwhile to do.
Well, I
They
think,
made money at it.
I think they probably, you know, they did, and I think they liked it. I think they're going to compete again. So we'll see. Okay.
Underneath, we just have two items that the Harbor Master presented. We have to have a vote on this.
I would like to have a vote because when I go in front of the Board of Selectmen,
Oh, you haven't got it, so
no, I have to go before I make any change to a harbor management plan. I first and foremost have to come and get the opinion of this board, and then, you know, when I go in front of the Board of Selectmen, I'll either say that Waterways Committee supports it or doesn't, you know.
I saw Jamie was posting it.
Yeah, just when I wrote the memo.
I thought it was the last meeting they had.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so what's up first here?
Arlene. Whichever one you want to take.
Somehow I misplaced
R permit.
So you want- you want-
my agenda. That's okay. R permit? Yeah. Okay, so everybody have a chance to read my memo?
Yes.
So you see, an R permit is considered an offloading permit, but it's R meaning ramp use. It's a charter offloading permit that allows somebody who's got the permit to be able to use the ramp. It's a day charter type routine. So a person would bring in their boat on a trailer, put the boat in, meet their party, take them on board, go do a charter, and then haul out same day. Okay. We've had these permits in place for years, well before I got here. You know, they just haven't been that popular. Our harbor management plan, we're allowed to have 10 permits. And, you know, since I've been here and even before me talking to Michelle, you know, we usually have 4 or 5 permits that people wanted to use, and they coincides, I guess, with the upgrade of our facilities. They've become popular. And so this is the first year that we actually had to establish a wait list for the permit. So I think it's a good opportunity for small business, somebody who wants to make a living or try to make a living to charter with, in my mind, minimal impact on the facility. Many of these people are already using the ramp to go out and either fish recreationally. And so it's really not an impact on the ramp by adding 2 more permits as I've recommended. Does it bring an additional vehicles to the facility? In general, these boats are somewhere in the 24 to 28 range, I would say. So you're probably going to take, it's a 6-pack, but many of them take 3, 4 small numbers of parties. So maybe 1 vehicle, 1 or maybe 2, but typically 1. So you're adding a couple of vehicles to the mix. So, as you know, during the height of the season, our parking lot and our ramp are busy. I get that. But I don't think by adding a couple of permits, the impact will be severe on our facility. And I think it opens up more opportunity. And without, in my mind, based upon me in engagement with some of our C permit holders, our charter permit holders who dock and operate out of Saquatucket. They pretty much all had a real good season last year, a banner season. I don't think by adding a couple of our permits, it will impact their business either. So that's kind of what I'm looking to do. It's not a big change, but it's something that we've, in my time, and Heinz maybe can answer this, I think we've always had 10. We've never even looked at increasing it. And I think it's not unreasonable to request that we add a couple. So if there's any questions.
And you made the comment there's a wait list, and I don't think that eliminates the wait list. It just
No, it doesn't. We got like 6 people on the wait list. I'm adding 2 permits, so we're still going to have, we're still going to have a wait list, but I think it just provides some opportunity.
The wait list was for the R
For
permit.
the R permit. Yeah, and that was just this last year was the first time we had to establish a wait list because there was a demand.
Any other questions?
No problem with it.
Motion to accept the proposal to be presented to the selectmen for increasing the number of R permits by 2.
I'll make the motion. Motion to accept.
Second. Okay. Phil and Jane.
Did you get that, Leah?
Yeah.
She is. She's got
Yes, I did. I'm sorry. I have you on mute.
Yes, yes, to unmute.
Okay.
To accept the proposal and increase the R permits by 2. And then I have Dan Hall and Jay Walpole. Is that correct?
No, Joe
Johnson. and
Joe Johnson
Jay.
and Jay seconded. Jay
Okay.
seconded.
Thank you.
Any further discussion?
And I see Kent is on, so in case you didn't
Yeah, I made
mark him as present,
Yeah,
Kent is here.
Kent came on.
Yes, I have
Okay.
Kent and Larry.
Yeah, Kent and Larry's online.
Right.
No other discussion or questions? Move all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion is carried. Number 2 proposals regarding the Round Cove landings.
Okay, so again, hopefully you've had a chance to read the memo I put together regarding Round Cove. In a nutshell, I'm trying to Round Cove is a ramp and landing, have always been a overly used, heavily used probably is a better term, heavily used ramp and landing. We have about 95 moorings in Round Cove, and then we have another 65 or so moorings in Pleasant Bay. That ramp, as you know, was just redone, and it's a nice new ramp. The landing itself is very small with a minimal amount of room for parking and very minimal amount of room for parking of vehicles and boat trailers. It's always been a tough landing waterway for us as a department to regulate, to enforce. Several years ago, we put some regulations in place that required certain permitting for people using the ramp. They had to have either a seasonal ramp pass, had to show proof that they have a Harwich mooring, a mooring permit holder, a transfer station sticker they could show. Of course, those went away a couple of years ago, or a beach sticker. So some proof that they're either a Harwich, payer of a permit, either transfer or beach, or they paid for the seasonal ramp pass. So we tried to put a little bit of controls in there to regulate the ramp a little bit. It had some impact, but what we've seen lately well, first of all, that was just the truck and trailers, the boat trailers. There was no regulation or no requirements for vehicle parking. Anybody could park their vehicle there. So I think the ramp and the busyness of the ramp recently has even been greater. And I think one cause is our neighboring town of Chatham recently put in place a user fee. And their user fee was based upon a resident or non-resident. The user fee for a resident was relatively low in cost, but the fee for non-resident was significant. And so I think we saw a lot of people who used to use some of the landings in Chatham to get to that side of the town of Pleasant Bay and Riders and all, Chatham Harbor. They started using Round Cove because it was a lot cheaper. And so our ramp has gotten real busy, and our landing in turn has gotten real busy. And I just think it's time to put some more controls in place. And so what I'm recommending is we make it only available to Harwich taxpayers. Harwich taxpayers are Harwich residents or Harwich taxpayers. So people who may have their primary home off Cape, but they pay taxes here in the town. They have a home here in the town. This is really the only time that from my perspective, I've kind of recommended this resident, non-resident enforcement. I just think we need to be able to make that ramp usable to our residents, and it currently is being overused, really heavily used. And so I've indicated in the memo several items that are going to be required if this gets approved. So in general, we're looking at making it Harwich resident only, or taxpayer, Harwich resident / taxpayer. And this would go into effect for a period of the voting season, which is Memorial Day to Columbus Day. And so a specific Round Cove parking permit would be required to be displayed on a vehicle. And those permits are going to be issued only by the Harbor Master Department. And it will have to be displayed on any vehicle that's parked there, or any vehicle that's parked there with a trailer attached. And we're only going to be issuing one permit per resident, per household. So even though you're a Harwich resident, you can't come in and ask for 3 permits so that you can have 3 different cars parking in the landing. We're trying to, again, control the usage of our small landing. So the permit be required to display on any vehicle used to launch a boat at Round Cove Boat Ramp. The seasonal ramp pass currently available to purchase by residents and non-residents will no longer include the use of Round Cove Ramp. So that's a change. Currently, our ramp pass, if somebody comes in and pays $100 for a ramp pass, they get access to Saquatucket Ramp, Howland Harbor Ramp, Long Pond Ramp, Round Cove Ramp, and so Heron River, which really is not a permanent ramp, but they certainly could use it. Now, because we're making it resident only, Round Cove is no longer included. Only Harwich residents / taxpayers are eligible to purchase the Round Cove parking permit. Harwich residents / taxpayers will be allowed to purchase only one permit per address for a fee of $25. Round Cove mooring permit holders will be provided with one Round Cove parking permit at no charge. So if you have a mooring in Round Cove, obviously you need to utilize the landing. You will get that parking permit and that parking permit number will coincide with your mooring permit number. And so when you renew, we'll send you your mooring permit and one parking permit. So the only situation where a non-resident of Harwich will be able to use the Round Cove landing and ramp is if they have a mooring permit in Round Cove. Our state statute states specifically that we can't, in the issuance of mooring permits, discriminate upon residency. So I can't make moorings available to only residents. And so there are going to be some permit holders who have a mooring in Round Cove that are not non-residents, and we will issue them a parking permit as well. And so that's really it. That in a nutshell is what we're looking to do. It is a change, and I'm sure it won't be popular to some, but we've seen an increase because of the Chatham fee. I think an increase in part because we redid our ramp, and it's a real nice ramp now. And I just think we should consider making our residents the priority here. So if there's any questions, happy to answer.
Just more of a comment and clarification. I think with this change that's being proposed, it does not solve, I don't want to say problem, the issue that we're thinking of. It's going to help, but there is so much use on that. And when we talk about the parking lot, I think you're also referring, it's the right side of the wheel going up. And that's not enough on certain days. So there might be some people who may not, but there'll be others who'll be thankful they get a spot and they have a mooring or they've got residency and they've got the sticker. I think, and I'm not sure yet, there may be days when someone who has a sticker still can't find a spot. Sure. And they've paid for that sticker and we're gonna have to do it. But it's a step to help what's there. It doesn't really,
Well, it's small.
Yeah.
How many access points do you have to Pleasant Bay?
Very few,
And then especially now Chatham walks down their doors, such as they've been doing for years.
So,
and then it puts it on our shoulders? No.
And if you can wave a magic wand and say, how would you want a parking lot 4 times that size?
Yeah.
You can't put it in, never gonna happen. But that's what you need. So now you're gonna reduce the demand of the influx.
I mean, we just put money into that, so why?
Exactly.
Why
There were
let-
years
Yeah.
people came to the harbor master stuff. When can you repair that? Or can you put a freshwater stand in there? And this was actually goes back to time. He was dealing with it at that time, and he was like, it's already so used that if you enhance it, it's all like if you build it, they will definitely come.
Yeah.
And it was a ramp that was somewhat usable. This is a great suggestion, but I don't want it to come across as, oh, well, we've solved it. Now, why do you still
There's
problems around?
still so much of that.
It's just,
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just like anything else. I hear the same thing with regard to the seasonal ramp pass. People buy a $100 seasonal ramp pass, and there may be a couple of days in the summer where there's just no place to park.
Yeah, I ran into it.
Right?
I sat in the parking lot, I'm like, yeah, heck with
It's
it.
not a
I went
guarantee.
back home, what can you do?
Yeah, it's not a guarantee, but I think some of these controls will help. Heinz is right. It's not gonna solve the problem. It's still a small landing. But I hope that it will help. And part of this is I need to dedicate some better enforcement of that land. It's hard for us because we don't have that many, staff on a daily basis. And the world of our work really is our three major harbors. And getting somebody to drive across town and have significant amount of time over there to enforce is not always
In the
easy.
summer, yeah.
It's in the
It's an
summer,
hour
it's
minimum.
hard. And I don't want to get caught over there if I'm doing it or Heinz or Bill, our primary boat operators. And we get a case in Nantucket Sound and we're stuck over at Round Cove. That's always in the back of my mind as far as, being ready to respond to emergencies. So anyways, it's something that we're going to have to do a better job regulating if and when this gets put in place.
Larry's got a question.
Is there an opportunity to work with the rec department and their parking enforcement with the beaches and all that stuff? I'm sure they're already shorthanded and overloaded too, but maybe a question or a conversation.
Yeah, Larry, I mean, I certainly can have that discussion with Eric Beebe. This isn't really anywhere near the location that they have people at. I don't think they have any presence at Bay Road Public Beach, so I don't think they're in that
I'm just thinking cheap labor, that's all.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And, we can maybe have that discussion. But we need to have some eyes over at Round Cove, more so than we do. And I'm going to see about trying to maybe not fix it totally, but improve that process. So.
Now we're asking for a $2 million drone. No, I'm just.
No, but Heinz, as far as like, people being, mad about having to pay for a permit, I mean, I go to Red River, every Sunday and I sometimes get turned away, when I pay for my beach sticker and, it is what it is. It's the 8 weeks when everybody's here and then we enjoy it for the rest of the year. So, cry for your, 8 weeks and deal with it and move on. I mean, it kind of is what it is.
And that's a great point. This is during the boating season. So people who want to be able to use the ramp to put their boat in for the season, they just have to think ahead a little bit and get it in before Memorial Day weekend. The ramp will be open to anybody outside of Memorial Day to Columbus Day. So it still provides an opportunity for people to use the ramp if they need to, on the shoulder seasons, either to put in or haul out. But yeah, I'm with you. I agree with you, Larry.
Any other questions? I have a question. Is it a permit, sticker,
Yeah.
or a placard?
It's going to be a sticker. Placards, they're good, but they're also
Right, transferable.
transferable and they're hard to
Replicatable.
lose. And, it just, yeah.
I'll entertain a motion that we have changed to section 13.9 regarding non-full landing permits.
I'll accept.
Dan,
I'll second.
Joe,
Joe second.
and Joe. Any other comments or discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. You have that, Leah?
Yes,
Come on.
thank you.
You're welcome. All set. Old business. We got none noted here, but I did get a letter from Virgil, or did you get that?
They did. They got that.
They got it
Squared away.
From the old business.
And, we had that mooring permit issue where we set a deadline for the mooring permit holder
Yeah.
to get
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Where he had to have.
He had like another 90 days to get his shit in
Yeah.
order, really?
And he did. So good job, I think.
Yeah.
Collectively holding him to tasks.
Yeah, they're like lawyers or something, but,
Patrick was over.
yeah.
Further was that. Monthly reports, nothing from the selectmen. We have two from the harbor master, December and November. Should have received, look at.
I guess the only thing maybe I'll highlight is you probably saw in the December report, I indicated that I met with Luke Beverage Ice Division to see about providing a ice service at Saquatucket. You know, right now we have an ice box where people have to come in the office and pay and then get the key and open and give them the bag of ice. So we're going to a system where everything's done right at the unit. You put your credit card in, you take 2 bags, 3 bags, whatever you want. It senses by weight how much you're taking out, and then you'll just get charged right on the spot. So it's going to be a nice system, I think, for the user, and especially us in the office, you know, having to run out and charge. And so it's going to be somewhat.
Yeah, you had the key a couple times.
I
It
know.
really disrupted my afternoon.
Sorry, man. The beer got warm.
I just didn't have to add as much. But.
Yeah.
And I think there's one more bonus to that. That ice company senses when it's, we're.
Yeah, no, it's 24/7 too.
Yeah, but they notice when it goes down. We don't have to let it go. They know by.
Yeah, and what comes
Yeah.
you know, automatic.
Yeah, that's great.
So they'll just show up when it's low.
Yeah, and it's 24/7 too.
Yeah.
So.
It's nice. We'll see. I mean, it's the first time we're going to be doing it, so I hope it works. I think it will.
So you get any revenue if you want this?
Yeah, we could certain an amount per bag and calculate.
Any other questions on harbor master? Sorry. The next is natural resource officer, send us a voluminous report. I hope you all have a chance to look
Yeah,
at it.
I read the agenda, and the town reports for department heads and stuff are due, I think, the 28th of January, and I got to the point that it was finalized. I thought, well, I'll send it. I didn't expect everyone to get it right now. At least you have it, or at least for the next one. It's not really an agenda item that you have to have a week ahead of time. I've already had some comments. You guys read it. That's great, and it's a whole year's worth, so that'll be several pages. But yeah, it's all in there. Just trying to think of anything upcoming that really was mentioned. Town has had a volunteer herring count through the Harwich Conservation Trust at Hinkley's Pond for 8, 9, 10 years, and for 2 years it's been retracted or stopped. First it was COVID, second was a transition. But I just got an email today that that'll be restarted, which is great because then that adds a nice complementary count to the electronic counter, which is in my town report, which will be continued by Division of Fisheries again, and now we're up to 6 or 7 years there too. So it's good to have that balance of numbers. So that's coming. And not many changes from years past, other than there's a comment about some extra testing for algal bloom, cyanobacteria. That's getting more attention, and this Association Preserve Cape Cod had several ponds that they were going to do. They had a list of 4 or 5. They came to me with, would you like to add any more? Those first ones didn't cost anything. I, within my water sampling budget, had enough money to add some more ponds. In a perfect world, I'd like to do all of them, or eventually add a couple more, but we're up to like 8 or 9 ponds as it is, the major bigger ones. And that's a good thing for the town and natural resources. But, yeah, so it's in there. Have at it.
Any complaints in North Wixon?
The Wixon Dock?
Yeah, the neighborhood,
The Wixon,
the fish house.
the fish house with the, not to me, I haven't heard any personal comments that people either didn't like the look of it or change. It looks like a beautiful building. I should make a comment that, part of their business operation is to grow shellfish and then sell that. Well, they start their season out with an estimate of what they, and there is some leftover there. And it's 2 years in a row now that they have planted that in Herring River. It hasn't cost the town anything, hasn't cost the Natural Resources Department anything. It was about 100,000 quahogs this year. They just let me know, so I record that and keep track of it. They do that, well, hopefully as a benefit for the town in which they're working in, but the transfer of shellfish from one body to another costs a test about $600 worth if you were to take it elsewhere. So even if they wanted to put it in Allen Harbor or Witcher, it would cost. I have to pay that to take my stuff out of the lab if I want to go elsewhere to Witcher, because they're raising them right there. The Wixon dock, easily done, boat ride in Herring River, done, clean, town benefits from that. And they've done that for 2 years in a row now. So kudos to them. That Wixon dock.
That increases the funding for the water. Too.
It does. Technically, people have brought to me and said, shellfish does improve water quality. Oysters filter a lot more. My comment to that is yes, but I would never look at that as the silver bullet or how I would address water quality. Because technically, if I take a cup of water and pour it in a Saquatucket, I raise the water level. Technically, that's what the shellfish are doing. They're filtering, but technically, you still have that issue of excess nutrients that they would get. You wouldn't credit until they removed anyway. Nutrients, they're just absorbed into the animal. They're still in the water body.
John, anything on the dock
Wixon?
improvements, that was stone?
Yeah, so, glad you asked that. I just got approval and funding to hire an engineer, and I have. GEI Consulting is putting the final touches on the design for what we want to do. I just go back, remind everybody, this was a project we had slated for several years ago, I think 3 years ago. And Bob Cafarelli at the time, who was our town engineer, was going to engineer it, so I didn't have to pay engineering costs. It was a pretty straightforward project, putting a Jersey barrier type bulkhead and some rock and some drainage in the parking lot and some fixing of the ramp going up to the fixed docks so that they're not stepping in water at high tides and so forth. So it wasn't a big project, and then Bob left and our new engineer came in, Griffin Ryder, and he just didn't have a chance to get to it, so it lingered. And so finally I said, I went to the town and said, hey, can you have funds to hire an engineer? And so we got the contract in place. GEI is working on engineering it, and my hope is to be able to go out and try to get it done before the summertime. It's not a big project, but it's needed.
It generates a lot of traffic.
It does. It's a busy place. Busy place. The parking lot is just washing into the Herring River right now, and that's what we're trying to fix. And that's why, if you been to Allen Harbor and you see the bulkhead we put in place at Allen Harbor, that's what I'm proposing. It's just a pretty simple Jersey barrier system that you put them together and then you backfill, and it holds the lot in place. So.
Is that going to leave any parking spaces there?
Well, I mean, we're going to have just as much as we do now.
They park all over.
They'll both still be there.
I mean, again, that's another one of those landings. It is what it is. It's a postage stamp size landing, and there's not a whole lot you can do as far as parking goes, but it's heavily used. So I'm trying to fix the erosion part and the washing of the parking lot and trying to fix that ramp where right now it's below water half the time. So I'll see what goes in.
Thank you, John, and thanks for the reports. Any correspondence?
I have, other than what
My next meeting, that's it, is scheduled for Wednesday, February 16th, if we have material to discuss. A motion to adjourn at 6:40. Dan,
Motion to approve.
Dan and Joe. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Good night.
Leah, could you stay on a minute?
I got my phone.
You got your phone.